Hello students, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360 CAP classes. So today first of all we will start with the module D of the ABM. This module is totally theoretical based module, and in this module we will try to cover all the important points so that because in the examination they will ask questions. Many questions you will find that in the ABM from the last 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 attempts, that is theoretical based question. Clear? So we have to cover all the points properly and try to understand the things. Clear? Within first 2 sessions today, like we will discuss introduction. So tomorrow we will take some MCQs along with the theory. Clear? We will take some MCQs along with the theory. Okay. So now let's start our discussion. Chapter number 28, that is compliance governance structure. So in this chapter we will discuss some of the important points like RBIA, like there is continuously audit every year basically, or on the basis of the risk level audit it is to be going on in the branches. Clear? We have to be cover all these things to be here. So now let's start first of all our discussion, and at any point if you face any doubt, so you can ask your doubts also at that point. So let's start. So the compliance functions, clear? So introduction, that is the compliance functions in the organizations are managed through a specially created structure, and it will be necessary to carefully and clearly identify the responsibilities and competencies assigned to it. Okay. So the compliance, clear? Presently, you will see that basically compliance, it is important for all the organizations. Clear? Compliance, basically what is that? Rules and regulations. We can do less business, but we have to do the business basically with the rules and regulation. Like recently you will see that like Amazon Pay is also one of the payment gateway. Clear? They are not following the RBI guidelines, and RBI basically will impose penalty on it. Like I think there is 3.5 crore penalty. Clear? I am not exactly remember the amount, but it is more than 3 crore. Clear? So that is guidelines to be followed properly. That is compliance. So the introduction of the compliance function in pre-existing units, clear? The introduction of the compliance function in pre-existing units has led to significant changes within the host structures. These changes further, that is, have mainly concern with the broadening of operational and regulatory responsibilities to different degrees in a relation to the structure, the size, and the objectives pursued by each business. Clear? That is basically if we are doing the compliance function, so basically it will lead to a lot of changes. Like basically just for a simple purpose I will take an example. Like please tell fast, here I will need your help. Like opening an account. So in your banks, account opening basically will be done at the branch level or at the centralized level. Please tell fast. Account opening will be done at the branch level or at the centralized level. So like here, if you, like you are going to give a loan, like if a customer approaches in the bank for a gold loan, so basically the branch, basically it depends upon branch. So sometimes basically for getting the gold loan, they are, if the account is going to open at the branch level, so they will open the account in a fast mode. Okay. Like customer will come in sometime, like they will take the gold loan on their wife name. Clear? So they will come within some time, we are opening the account. Later on, basically we will take the signature. Clear? Like these things. Clear? It depends. Clear? So basically we are not taking here proper compliance. So if it is at centralized level, so basically we have to do compliance first. After that, we have to do business. Okay, we have to do business. So compliance, it is necessary. Clear? Compliance, it is necessary for every organization to do the work. Clear? Basically, if we are doing the work basically with the compliance, so we will not face that much issues. Clear? Which we will face basically when we are not doing the compliance. So now further we are moving towards the next step. So what they are saying here, now let's try to discuss. So the development of the functions of the internal control has often occurred as a reaction to the clamorous. Clamorous, basically, we can say that like mixed financial standard, like we can say that not accurate or not genuine, clear, clamorous financial scandals which have involved the banks, exposing the fragility of the control mechanism adopted, and which have a consequence led to the creation of a certain number of functions, leading to change in the reporting structures. So, keeping in mind the need for an organizational structure which will pursue the regulatory goals, authorities have suggested a structure that matches with the need of compliance and avoid complexity in the reporting system. Clear? So now basically they are going to develop a structure in that way, clear, or develop the functions, or we can say that regulatory goals in such a way that is they are going to complete all these things basically with the following guidelines, clear, with the following guidelines, or they have to comply the compliance side by side also. Like one thing I will tell you, like in every branch, RBIA, it is going on every year, clear, or within 2 years, clear. Inspection, it is to be going on, clear. So can anyone tell what is the full form of that? This is, it is a type of internal audit. What is RBIA? Basically, it is a type of the internal audit. So can anyone tell what is the full form of RBIA? Like in that, basically the auditor, basically auditor is also one of the bank employee, clear. They will come and check all your documents, clear, as per the bank guidelines. And they will also guide you basically at this place you have not done this work, clear, and here you will not following the guidelines, clear. So as any all of you are basically aware regarding the RBI, can anyone tell basically what is the full form of that? So now let's discuss all these things to be here. So first of all, organizational structure, clear. Under that, first of all, what we have to discuss regarding the organizational structure. So the CCO basically stands for the Chief Compliance Officer. The CCO basically it is needed, Chief Compliance Officer, basically it is needed to have direct reporting lines, clear, basically to whom they have to direct report. This is one of the question, clear. So the CCO is needed to have direct reporting lines to the MD and CEO and or the bank board, or the board and the board committee of the bank, clear, to whom they have to basically report basically to the MD or CEO or to the board or the board committee of the bank, clear. Like here there is one word that is ACB. ACB basically stands for the Audit Committee of Board. Here, ACB basically stands for the Audit Committee of a Board. Further, in case of bank specific policy, clear, in the case of bank specific policy and the volume of business, if the, clear, in the case of bank specific policy and the volume of the business, if the CCO, that is Chief Compliance Officer, reports to the MD and CEO, further the Audit Committee of the Board should meet the CCO quarterly on 1-to-1 basis, clear. That is Chief Compliance Officer, clear. They have to, the Audit Committee of the Board basically should meet the Chief Compliance Officer basically quarterly on 1-to-1 basis without the presence of the senior management. Here basically what is the meaning of the senior management? That is including the MD and CEO, clear, basically including the MD and the CEO, clear. So without the presence of the senior management, including the MD and CEO. So the business, that is the vertical and functional departments, should report directly to the CCO, clear. So what are the vertical departments and what are the functional departments? The business vertical, then what is the meaning of business vertical, what is the functional departments, we have to cover in the part 2. Clear? In this session we have not discussed regarding the functional departments, we have to cover under the part 2. Clear? So they should directly report to the CCO, that is Chief Compliance Officer. Why I'm focusing on all these points? Because you will get the questions on all these things. Clear? When we will discuss the question, you will get all these points in the form of the question. So please listen all these points very carefully. Next one. Similarly, the compliance officers. Clear? At every place you will find the compliance, like at the branches. Clear? Like it is the responsibility of the branch head, clear, to do all the work with the compliance. Clear? So over the branch head, there is a regional or the zonal office. Clear? They have to do compliance. Clear? Whether the branches work, basically work in the branches, basically they are following the guidelines or not. Clear? Similarly, compliance officers basically posted at the regional or zonal office are needed to report the CCO directly. The chief compliance officer basically shall review performance of all the compliance officers in the bank as they report to the CCO. Clear? And the performance appraisal of the CCO basically it is reviewed by the board of the or the audit committee of board. Clear? So performance appraisal of the CCO basically it is to be done by whom? Basically either by the board or by the ACB, that is the audit committee of board. Clear? Or by the ACB, that is the audit committee of the board. Okay, so please tell fast all these points regarding the CCO. It is clear to all of you? That is Chief Compliance Officer. They have all the responsibility basically of following the guidelines in the bank. And they have to be regularly check all these to be things here. Now next one. So who will report? Clear? So that is how it will properly going on. Clear? Like either it is with the board of directors or the clear. So chief compliance officer basically, first of all, go with that. A compliance officer basically at the regional or zonal level. They have to be report to the chief compliance officer. Further, functional departments at the central or the head office, they will have also report to the chief compliance officer. Clear? They will also report to the chief compliance officer. On the basis of that also there is one question in the book. So for the chief compliance officer, basically they have to report to whom? That is first one, that is the board of directors. Second one here, that is the audit committee of board. Clear? First they have to report to the board of directors. Second one, that is the audit committee of board. Third one, that is the managing director and CEO. Clear? Third one, basically they have to report to the managing director and CEO. Clear? So to all whom them basically they have to report. First one, that is to the board of directors. Second one, that is to the audit committee of board. Third one, that is the managing director and CEO. Clear? Managing director and CEO. Now we have to move to the next point here. So what is the responsibility of the board and the senior management? Clear? Like basically if you are following the compliance, clear? So basically it will start at the top. Like basically it will start from the higher authority and all the below that person, this basically they have to follow the guidelines. Clear? If there is any not following the guidelines at the higher level, so basically everyone think that basically if at a higher level they will not follow the guidelines, so why basically we are following the guidelines? Clear? So the compliance basically starts at the top. It will be most effective in a corporate culture that emphasizes basically standards of the honesty and integrity, and one in which the board of directors and senior management basically led by example. Clear? And basically and one in which the board of directors and the senior management basically led by the example. Like board and audit committee, board or the audit committee of board or managing director and CEO shall overview the compliance function in terms of the business needs and volume applicable to the banks, and reporting lines of CCO to the top management in this review process shall be properly documented in the compliance policy of the bank. Clear? So like you will see that what are the rules and regulations, like basically if you are going to sanction the KCC limit. Clear? So how many land, if like we can say that 10 acres, clear, 1 acre you will give 2 lakh. or 1 lakh or 50,000, clear, as per the bank guidelines. So you have to follow all these guidelines, clear. So this will comes under the compliance, like whether the reports given by the farmer to you, it is correct or not, clear, whether that land it is basically belong to the farmer or basically they are growing the crops in that land, clear. All these things basically we have to be take care. So presently basically with the help of that basically geo tagging it is to be also done, clear. Geo tagging it is to be also done, like basically which report basically you have in your hands, clear, whether it is a report of that land, clear, basically which you are basically physically verify or not, clear. All these things you have to check, clear. All these things basically compliance, this is also compliance. Okay, so that compliance basically review process basically should be properly documented in the compliance policy of the bank further. So the compliance policy shall be approved by the board, clear. That compliance policy basically it shall be approved by the board. Accordingly the CCO shall report to the board or audit committee of the board or MD and CEO. So if as per policy, CCO reports to the MD and CEO, so the CCO shall also report to the audit committee of board independently as per the frequency wide compliance policy, clear. So basically if they are reporting to the MD and CEO, so basically they have also report to the ACB, clear. They have to also report the ACB, clear. So this is the thing, like in the examination they will ask question, clear. If the CCO basically is going to be report to the MD and CEO, clear. So then there will be compulsion, that is they have to report, yes, they will shall also report to the ECB or the board independently, clear, as per the guidelines, clear. Basically as per the guidelines they have to be report to them also here. Okay, now move to the next point. So what are the responsibilities of the board of the directors? Very, very important, clear. So these question like you will get in the examination in the form of multiple point question. Like there are 4 points they have given, so you will have to find that, clear, which one it is correct one and which one it is not, clear, or which one basically belongs to that or not. So responsibility of the board of directors. So now let's start. So the board of director basically shall, clear, the board of director basically shall, first one, ensure an appropriate compliance policy, clear. So the board of director basically shall ensure an appropriate compliance policy is in place in the bank to manage the compliance function, clear. Basically ensure an appropriate compliance policy basically it is in place in the bank to manage the compliance functions and also overseeing its implementation, clear. So ensure an appropriate compliance policy is in place in the bank to manage the compliance function and also overseeing its implementation, clear. So basically it will not like that you have formed the policy and you will not check, clear, basically whether they are following the policy or not. Like basically you are giving the loan and you have done the pre documentation part, clear. Basically we can say that pre visit, but you have not done post visit and not do, you will not do proper documentation after giving the loan, clear. So that is basically it is not, we can say that loan will not goes properly, clear. That is if the customer defaults, so will you will not have check on that, clear. You are not following the guidance. That is the same thing they are saying here, that is ensure an appropriate compliance policy it is in place in the bank to manage the compliance function and also overseeing its implementation. Second one, ensure compliance issues are resolved effectively and expeditiously basically by the senior management with the assistance of the CCO and the compliance staff, clear, and the compliance staff, clear. Like sometimes basically if there is any issue arises, so basically with the mutual understanding of all of them, basically they have to be resolved that issue, clear. They have to be resolved that issue further. Ensure that there is no potential for any conflict of interest and the activities of the compliance function are subject to the independent review at least once in 3 years, clear. Presently remember this numerical figure, that is there is no potential for any conflict of interest, clear. So can anyone tell basically what is the meaning of the conflict of interest? Conflict of interest basically here basically means that as if we are going in the general language, so conflict basically it leads to any different meaning, clear. So conflict of interest basically means that basically you are not getting any personal benefits basically from that, clear. So you are not getting any personal benefits basically from that. That is the meaning of a conflict of interest here, clear. Conflict of interest here, that is it will not lead to any personal benefit to you. So ensure that there is no potential for any conflict of interest and that the activities of the compliance function are subject to the independent review. Clear? And the activities of the compliance function basically are subject to the independent review at least once in the 3 years. Clear? At least once in the 3 years. And the compliance function and the audit function, clear? And the compliance function and the audit function of the bank are necessarily to be kept separately. Clear? That is the compliance function and the audit function. Clear? So they have to be kept separately. Clear? So that is basically it will not lead to any arise of the conflict of interest. Clear? And the compliance function and the audit function of the bank are necessarily basically being kept separately. Next one. Review compliance functions are on a quarterly basis. Clear? Review compliance functions basically are to be done on a quarterly basis, and an annual review of status in implementation of the compliance functions are to be carried out. Clear? So review compliance functions basically are to be done on the quarterly basis. Kindly remember all these things. Clear? That is basically whatever the time duration under the responsibility of the board of directors, and definitely you will get these points in the examination. Clear? So that is a review compliance function. Basically, it is to be done on a quarterly basis, and an annual review of status in implementation of the compliance functions. In implementation of the compliance function, it is to be carried out here further. Responsibility of the senior management. So now next point, what is the responsibility of the senior management to be here? So selection of the candidate for the post of the CEO, CCO. Clear? So basically who will be appointed as the CCO? Clear? Very, very important one. You will hear that basically CCO basically will be appointed from the market also. Clear? It is not necessarily that is it is appointed from the bank itself. Clear? So we will discuss also. So selection of the candidate basically for the CCO, that is Chief Compliance Officer, shall be done on the basis of a well-defined selection process and recommendations basically made by the senior executive level selection committee constituted by the board basically for that specific purpose. Clear? And a recommendation basically made by the senior executive level selection committee. Clear? Basically that shall be constituted basically by the board for that specific purpose. Clear? Basically for that specific purpose. Now next further. So the selection committee further, that is the selection committee shall recommend. Clear? The selection committee basically here shall recommend the names of the candidates. Clear? The selection committee basically shall recommend the names of the candidates suitable basically for the post of the CCO. Clear? Shall recommend the names of the candidates basically that are suitable for the post of the CCO as per the rank. Clear? Basically as per the rank in order of merit, and board shall take final decision. Clear? And who basically have the decision holding committee, that is the board, shall take the final decision basically in the appointment of the CCO. Clear? And the board shall take the final decision in the appointment of the CCO. Further, a prior intimation. Clear? That is a prior intimation to the Department of Supervision. Clear? A prior intimation basically to the Department of Supervision, Reserve Bank of India, Central Office, Mumbai, shall be provided. Clear? Before appointment or premature transfer or removal of the CCO. Clear? That is they have to be intimate basically to the which department. Clear? This will be one more question, that is to the Department of Supervision. Clear? Basically of which organization? Of the Reserve Bank of India having central office Mumbai. Clear? That shall be provided before appointment, premature transfer, that is before the time transfer or removal of the CCO to be here. Next one. Such information basically should be supported by a detailed profile of the candidate. Clear? Basically if we are going to a point, so basically all information basically we have to mention while forwarding the recommendation to the RBI also. Such information should be supported by a detailed profile of the candidate along with the fit and proper certification. Clear? Basically along with the fit and proper certification by the MD and CEO of the bank, confirming that the person meets our supervisory requirements and detailed rationale basically for the changes. Clear? That is they are meeting all the guidelines basically for that specific post. Clear? Basically for that specific post, and we are appointing that specific person basically for the post of that. Okay. So please tell fast. Any doubt, any query up to this much point? Now move to the next point. So compliance structure at the corporate office. Clear? Compliance structure at the corporate office to be here. So now let's discuss regarding that. So compliance department basically have formal status. Clear? Compliance department having formal status should be set up at the central office or the corporate office or at the head office. Clear? So compliance department having formal status basically should be set up at the central office, corporate office, or at the head office. It shall have a senior executive of the bank. Clear? Basically, who will be holding that is senior executive of the bank, preferably in the rank of a general manager. Clear? Either basically will be it is similar to the rank of the general manager or an equivalent position, but not below 2 levels basically from the CEO. Clear? That is maximum that person basically will be 2 levels low than the CEO. Clear? Not below than that. So next one, that is not below 2 levels, basically designated as chief compliance officer with overall responsibility. Clear? That is basically with overall responsibility for coordinating with the assistant of the functional departments. Clear? Basically with overall responsibility, coordinating basically with the assistance of functional departments. Further, that is, it enables the identification of compliance issues. Clear? Further, that is, it enables the identification of the compliance issues in the banks and management of the bank's compliance risk and supervising the activities of the compliance functions assigned to the staff. Clear? And supervising the activities of the compliance function basically assigned to the staff. Further, that is, the CCO could also be recruited from the market. Clear? That is basically, we cannot say that basically it will be from the bank. Clear? So if they are not able to find, or basically if they are able to find basically, or we can say that if they want to find that person basically will be outside from the bank, so they will also do that. Clear? So they will also do that here. That will be mentioned here. That is the CCO basically could also be recruited from the market. Clear? That will be also recruited from the market here. Clear? So this is regarding the compliance structure basically at the corporate office. Basically here we have to remember that basically that person basically will be in the rank of the GM or basically and not below than the 2 levels basically from the CEO. Clear? Not below the 2 levels basically from the CEO. Okay. So kindly remember all these points to be here regarding that. And in this session, we have to cover up to this much point. In the next session, we will discuss assessment of the compliance risk and all these things. Basically, I will try to cover this one. Clear? As we have little bit left time left. So following shall be the basis for assessment of the compliance risk to be here. So what are the assessment? Clear? Basically, following are the basis. Clear? First of all, that is, we have to do the regular focus on that. Clear? Regular focus. Second one, that is basically nature of activity. Clear? Basically, whether that work it is to be of high risk or at to be low risk. Clear? That is nature of activity. We have to check over that. Clear? Nature of activity. Clear? Basically, whether inherently high risk in nature or not. Third one, that is the bank's exposure. Okay, that is the bank's exposure to it. That is materiality. Clear? That is the materiality. Fourth one, that is any breaches reported in the past or history. Clear? That is past or history. Clear? Like if there is any breaches, that is, we can say that basically we are not following. Clear? Or any drawback from that. Clear? That is basically for the assessment of the compliance risk. First one, that is how many points, that is there will be 4. Regulatory focus. Second one, that is the nature of activity. Clear? Whether inherently or high risk in nature. Third one, that is bank's exposure to it. Fourth one, any breaches reportedly in the past or history. So compliance department basically should be kept independent. Clear? That this department basically should be kept independent. And we cannot say that basically they will having any interest. Clear? Basically, if they will do favor here, they will get benefit. Clear? So that's why compliance department basically should be kept independently. And under no circumstances, the compliance staff should be assigned audit or inspection duty as it gives rise to the compliance conflict of interest. Clear? So that is compliance staff should be assigned audit or inspection duty and under no circumstances, clear, that is they will not appoint under that, as it gives rise to the conflict of interest here, clear. Also the activities of the compliance function, clear, also the activities of the compliance function here should be subject to the independent review, clear. Hence the compliance function and the audit function of the bank should necessarily be the separate, or should kept separate, clear. That is, compliance it is to be separate and audit function it is to be separate, okay, to let to the basically to protect from the conflict of interest, clear, protect from the conflict of interest, they should be kept separately here, okay. So all these things basically you have to be take care regarding that. In the next session we will discuss some another important points, 2 more sessions we have to take on that, clear. In the next session I will also try to cover some of the MCQs related to this topic, clear. So thanks to all of you for joining this discussion.